To understand the creation of Draconians, one must understand Dragons and Bakali before them. Welcome to another DragonLance Saga episode. My name is Adam, and today we're going to talk about the creation of Draconians. I'd like to take a moment and thank the members of this channel and invite you to consider becoming a member by visiting the link in the description below. You can even pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using my affiliate link. I am referencing the Dragons of Krynn sourcebook for this information. If I leave anything out or misspeak, please leave a comment below. The creation of Draconians is a simple enough tale, but I'm more interested in the build-up to and evolution of the Draconian race, because it's anything but a linear, clear path from A to B. Of course, in the last Age of Krynn, Draconians have liberated the female eggs and restored their natural reproduction methods. But when asked what came first, the chicken or the dragon egg, well, it was actually Bakali. This all started in the Age of Starbirth, far before there were the mortal races of Elves, Ogres, and Humans, even before the creation of Chromatic Dragons to be corrupted by Takhisis, and the subsequent creation of Metallic Dragons on behalf of Paladine. Yes, our story begins just after the forging of the universe and the creation of Krynn, where the High God breathed life onto the surface of the world. We must also clarify that the Bakali applies to not only the true Bakali lizard folk, but also the Jerax-Sin, troglodytes, kobolds, slugs, and naga. As with any creature of intelligence, the Bakali evolved to understand their surroundings and even to worship the gods. They would gather in tribes and vie for the favor of the gods. These, the oldest of lizard species, were doomed by the will of the gods, for after their own intertribal conflict began, so did the dragons arrive on Krynn. Though the Bakali fought for dominance initially, they quickly realized the true might of the dragons, and in time would forsake the old gods to favor these new godly lizard beings. The dragons pulled them from the jungles and taught them technology, civilization, and magic. The Bakali would build temples to these new dragon gods. The dragons would lose interest in their worshippers and seek to grow their domains. As the dragons warred and expanded their domain, and they were seen as the gods of Krynn, the true gods grew angry. The Bakali suffered the gods' wrath as storms and disaster ruined their civilization. They were protected from total annihilation by Chislev and Syrian. They would survive the time of ice, but never again rise to the greatness they knew under their dragon overlords. Once the starborn races arrived in the Age of Dreams, the Bakali had degenerated to primal beings of superstition and ritual. They were driven from their lands of millennia by these new races of humans, ogres, and elves. By the time of the Second Dragon War in 2692 pre-Cataclysm, they had been corrupted by Takhisis and Hidukel, who appeared to them in the forms of Chislev and Syrian. The fallout of the Second Dragon War was horrendous. The Bakali were hunted for revenge. The violence wouldn't halt or even slow down until the Cataclysm. In the Age of Might, the forces of darkness knew they must find a way of growing their forces at a more rapid pace, and wizards began experimenting with the corruption and creation of various forms of life to fill this void. The renegade wizard in the Dark Queen's employ, Galen Dracos, was known to have created the horrid undead dreadwolves, which served him well, though his designs were ended by Huma Dragonbane. Bren of the Black Robes actually captured a silver dragon in her clutch of eggs. His passion in studying the essence of dragons and experimenting on their eggs could be seen as a precursor to the corruption ritual, but his designs were ended by Kaz the Minotaur. In 100 pre-Cataclysm, Fistendanilus and the Black Robe Wizards began studying the nature of life in order to prolong and create it with the design of standing against the King Priest of Istar. The gods themselves put an end to that indirectly with the Cataclysm. It would be more than 200 years before the Bakali and Chromatic Dragons would reunite behind the will of the Dark Queen and raid the Dragon Isles for the metallic dragon's eggs. They were stolen away to the Lords of Doom and hidden in the bowels of the vile temple of Takhisis. A decade later, the metallic dragons would realize their eggs were missing after waking from their long slumber. They were furious, but greeted by the red dragon Harkeel the Bender on behalf of Takhisis. She demanded inaction in the coming war to ensure the safety of their eggs. With no viable alternative, the metallic dragons returned to their slumber, and Harkeel returned to her queen. In just over 40 years, experimentation would provide results, but not the successful corruption and creation of life desired by the Dark Queen and her minions, as they began experimenting with the plague mold of Zakar. This was disastrous, and created the Trags, who proved ineffective as soldiers at best. Silver eggs were next used, which created the Sesks. These were even worse, and proved cowardly in battle. Both were banished to Taladas to rot. Only a decade later, however, in 342 Anno Cataclysm, in the vile ritual chambers far beneath the Temple of Takhisis, the red dragon Harkeel the Bender would be joined by Harrowell Drakhart, the human black-robed wizard, and Whirlish Parkane, the priest of Takhisis, and successfully craft and employ the corruption ritual, which would birth the first Draconians from the stolen metallic dragon eggs. Gilthanas and Silvara would describe the ritual later like this. Joining hands, the dark-robed clerics and wizards began chanting, causing the eggs to darken. It turned to a hideous green before darkening into a dull black and growing to a grotesque size. Through arcane and divine spells, they forced the eggs to grow and their occupants to multiply. The shell became leathery and slimy. As the larva-like eggs split open, miniature Draconians crawled into the open. The three began the creation of Draconians initially with Baz and Capax, and then continued with Bozax, Sivax, and finally Arax. It had taken millennia, but Takhisis, the Queen of Darkness, with the aid of her human worshippers, Chromatic Dragons, and ancient Bakali, had finally created the perfect shock troops for her fourth Dragon War, the War of the Lance. The Draconians' early training and conditioning was brutal, and led to the elder Draconians being revered for their exceptionalism, and the female Draconian eggs being spirited away in stasis to keep a limit on the Draconians' strength. They were ultimately stolen by dwarves and buried in the caves near Thorbarton. With the liberation of the remaining metallic dragon eggs in 352 Anno Cataclysm by Gilthanas Cannon and Silver Dragon Silvara with the help of Copper Dragon Symbol, Erican was faced with a problem. A year later, he believed he had found his answer. He ordered Drakhart to perform the corruption ritual on chromatic dragon eggs. The result were the noble Draconians that refused to serve the Dark Queen's army and fled or were killed. Not one to give up, Drakhart forged the Heart of Drakhart, an artifact that would create 1,000 Draconians from the essence of a single original Draconian. This would ultimately be stolen by the Aurak Draconian General Maranta, and later destroyed by the Bozak Draconian Kang. There would be future corruptions in the form of dragon spawn 30 years later by the Blue Dragon Kalandros, but no deviation was ever as successful as the Draconians. And that is all I have to say about the creation of Draconians. I hope you enjoyed the information. Do you have a favorite Draconian? Have you ever used Bakali or noble Draconians in your games? And finally, if you were a Draconian, would you look kindly on the Dark Queen? Leave a comment below. I'd like to take this moment and remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified about upcoming videos, and click the like button. This all goes to help other Dragonlance fans learn about this channel and its content. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with Dragonlance Saga, and until next time, remember, my people were hunting by night, while yours was still trying to invent socks.